these are a few of my favorite things. Hey guys, MasakoX here. So it goes without saying that recently Dragon Ball Super ended. Yep, that happened almost a month ago, and boy does it seem like an eternity. It seems like ages ago we saw Goku once again rise up in the old usual way that he does. Suffice to say, we are a little bit sad about that, considering the fact that Dragon Ball Super had only just gotten into its groove after, what, nearly 3 years? And now it was going away again. Huh. So much for that then. To be honest though, there is no real reason to be all that sad. When you sit down and look at the bigger picture going forward, the future for Dragon Ball is looking pretty promising. Judging on how well Super performed, as well as its international success, as well as the merchandise profit margins, I think it's safe to say that future installments of the show are pretty much guaranteed. We're not going to be just restricted to the occasional new movie every couple of years, which I thought was going to be the original plan. There might be a second season of Super, like a part 2, or an entirely new series. This all depends on how well the movie does in December, so please, if it comes out where you live, go and watch it and support the official release. So today, instead of mourning the passing of Dragon Ball Super, I want to actually look to the future and my hopes for it, with 7 ideas about what I think could go into making the next part of Dragon Ball really good. Why 7 exactly? Well, 7 Dragon Balls. I kind of did that before with 7 ways to make Dragon Ball Super super back in the day. You can go watch that after this if you want. So, let's start things off in order of preference. We have, at number 7, let's explore the other universes, shall we? Anyone up for a Universe 6 Sadala arc? When it comes to the fandom, Universe 6 has been one of the most well-received facets of Dragon Ball Super, especially in terms of the potential for a future story arc. It would be really great to see the continued development of Kaba, Kale, and Caulifla, as well as explore the other Saiyans that populate that world, get to see a little bit more of Hit, see if Frost decides to redeem himself or continue to be his scheming self, and just not be in Universe 7 for a while. Flesh them out a little bit more, have some more interactions with the heroes that actually go somewhere. We were teased with the whole Kaba, Vegeta, teacher-pupil dynamic. I really want to see that being explored and ultimately fulfilled. It would be a really nice change of pace as well as a fresh start for anyone thinking that the Universe 6 tournament arc was a little bit mediocre and they kind of wanted more. We saw a little bit of it when we found out about Caulifla and Kale's existence, with Sadala I'm talking about, but more please. And it doesn't end there. I'm not just talking about staying in Universe 6. We could maybe go to other universes too. Go back to Universe 11 perhaps. Maybe we get to see Jiren now that he's a bit more mellowed out. Maybe there could be like a little mini arc concerning the Pride Troopers. Gohan, now intrigued by the Pride Troopers dynamic, could go over there to check it all out and actually be admired by Toppo's posing, and then Toppo would say, "Your posing is very full of justice, young man." Can you imagine how zany and fun that would be? I still want a Pride Troopers spin-off, even if it's just a manga coming from the Dragon Ball room of Shueisha. Please, we need the Pride Troopers in our life. When it comes to the other universes, you could explore them as well. Goku and Bergamo could actually rebuild ties and be somewhat friends, because Goku does do that. Perhaps we can explore the universes that were exempt from the Tournament of Power, universes 1, 5, 8, and 12. We have no idea about the fighters in their universes. That could explore a whole new facet, because we got 12 universes to play with. There's so much potential here. And even if we don't get that, I would just be happy to see Bororetta again. And yeah, okay, that was just me humoring Havrock there. I mean, honestly, every day it's Bora this and Bora that. He's becoming a right Bora. Number 6. Go easy on the transformations, please. Now, I'm not saying that I don't want to see any transformations in this upcoming series or feature whatsoever. That's not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is that we don't need to have as many as we did in Super. Transformations in terms of Dragon Ball are pretty much quintessential. If you didn't have transformations in Dragon Ball these days, it wouldn't feel right. And I'm not just talking about the Saiyans, I'm talking about the villains or humans or any other race. To have nothing for them in terms of another form or another power to actually aspire to, that's not fair. What I'm getting at is that we do not need to have a dozen new forms almost. This is one of the rarest things to say, but DBC actually did less, but did more. There were few transformations in that show, but they managed to make it work, and it's possible. So let's just say if we got another series of about 130 episodes or so, and we have maybe 2 or 3 transformations in terms of what we expect in Dragon Ball, I think that would be fine. Or better yet, we can use the forms that we've already got much more cleverly. But then again, would that be profitable? Probably not. Number 5, give Shin something to do. So you know how I've been talking about having Beerus and Whis be involved less in future arcs? Well, I think it would be really cool for the exact opposite to happen to Shin. And I'm not saying that Shin should be the main focus of any future arc, or he should go after the big bad all by himself. I'm talking about making Shin do what he's supposed to do. Be the best intel guy that the crew of the Z Warriors have. It would be much better for him to be back behind the scenes doing investigations, providing research and information for our heroes to then use against the big bad. Like, he could be in the background saying, "Oh, I know about that villain. This guy, da-da-da-da-da-da exposition." And then Goku and the others could then just go, "Okay, we're just gonna punch him." He doesn't have to just do it by himself. Maybe he could utilize the likes of Dende, King Kai, Kibito. There are so many other people in the sacred world of the Kais that he could call upon for help. If the writers just played on Shin's inherent strengths and skills, it would really see the character rise up again and be somewhat relevant instead of just being the bumbling old fool that is just really subservient to the Elder Kai. In fact, better still, maybe have the Elder Kai retire. Have him just on vacation on a beach on the sacred world of the Kais going, kid, you worry about yourself. I'm getting myself some good rest and relaxation." Do something else other than just making them vehicles for exposition or just straight up comedy relief. Oh, and please don't resort to Whis X marketing everything, okay? Heck, we don't even have to have a present arc. Maybe it could be a flashback to a previous triumph. You know, show that Shin is good at something. Number 4, a smarter Goku. Okay, so I've talked about Goku's intelligence on this channel on many an occasion. What I try to get at is that the type of intelligence that Goku has is not something that we conventionally assess. We usually assess intelligence by mathematical prowess, which we know that Goku kinda has, but not as well as he could do. But when it comes to the likes of resourcefulness, adaptability, natural intelligence, and kinetic intelligence, Goku can't be beat. Up until Super, Goku's intelligence on the whole has been pretty consistent, but in Super I noticed it took a very big turn and made the character really irritating. They just reduced him to an idiot and an ignorant oaf. And what's worse, none of the consequences that actually befell his actions, he didn't really take any of it on board. He just kind of rolled along with it and just carried on. Goku only gets away with it because any consequences that might have happened get washed away because they go, "Oh, no, sorry, we can just fix it, never mind." You know, Dragon Balls or Omni Kings, whatnot. So yeah, Goku endangers the Omniverse, and yet by the end of it, he's heralded as a paragon of justice. What? What I really want to see in Goku in the future series is for him to be more like he is at the end of Z. A cooler, calmer, and more distant Goku. Someone who is more experienced and just mellowed out. He doesn't need to prove anything anymore. He is basically one of the strongest mortals in the Omniverse. I think he can have some time to chill. But then again, this is Toei we're talking about. You don't really change Goku's character model lest you run the risk of falling profits. Number 3. Let Goten and Trunks age. One could easily go on and on and on about why Goten and Trunks should actually grow up for once. They are clearly being held back in terms of their stature just to be the show's mascots. Despite the fact they are approaching the age of Trunks from the History of Trunks special, it's just weird. Now, I know that Goku stayed really short until he was about maybe 15 or 16 and then he shot right up. Maybe that's just what happens with Saiyan physiology. But that didn't happen with Gohan. That didn't happen with Trunks in the special. So why is it happening here? I think the sooner that Toei realizes that they need to move on with their mascots, the better. These guys, especially Goten, need to be utilized more in the series instead of just being there for yucks and not being taken seriously. Trunks had a really good moment connecting with his future self. I want more of that. It was barely explored. I guarantee you, Toei, that many fans across the world will be thoroughly relieved to see Goten and Trunks actually do something more complex. I get it. Dragon Ball needs to have kid characters in order to actually connect with the younger demographic of their audience. But you know what? I still think having them grow up would have more of a connection with some of the kids that watch Dragon Ball. And you've got Dragon Ball Heroes to appeal to the kids in terms of a game. That really works, so what are you worried about? Goten and Trunks are just becoming the Bart Simpson of Dragon Ball Z, in the fact they don't seem to age. I can give you a better example in terms of kids and relating to them. Gohan. We saw him grow up properly, and it worked. We saw him go from a little kid to an adult. We saw him grow up, because that's what everybody does. They grow up. And if they let Goten and Trunks grow a little bit older, it's okay. They got Pan and Bra to work with, because they'll become kids too, and they'll be the next mascots. Who's to say that Pan or Bra couldn't have yet another little sibling to play with? Number 2, better villains. Now this is a pretty big one. The antagonists of Super, despite actually having some really good moments, failed to deliver when it mattered most. They didn't really have as much emotional connection with the audience as previous villains did. They were either too convoluted or far too simple. Now, I know people are going to be saying that I've said many times before that Jiren isn't a villain per se. You're right, he's an antagonist. But in terms of the Tournament of Power, the way it went, he played a facsimile of a villain. He was basically the big bad because he was big and really mean to Goku and had to be the pantomime villain, so he has to be here. But the trouble is though, having a new villain would be pretty challenging given the ridiculous power creep that has befell Dragon Ball Super, because Goku can now take on gods of destruction. Where do you go from here? Especially if you want to change the theme of the series and move away from divine incompetence. You would really have to think outside the box to come up with an idea for a type of villain that could be viable, and you don't resort to just plucking something out of Dragon Ball Heroes. But I think we could have some ideas. If you want to actually check out my Build a Baddie series of videos where I actually hypothesize this notion, you can check out links to them in the description and up top. When it comes to my hopes for future villains, I'd like to see a much more personal approach. Their motivation should be a little more complex and nuanced. Not talking about universal erasure or destroying or taking over the world. Maybe just a straightforward showdown. You know, the old kind of Western type of rivalry. That could be pretty interesting. Number 1, the most important one. Give something to the human characters. Since the days of Dragon Ball Z and the moment the show took to the stars, the Saiyans were pretty much running the show, and the human characters were pretty much left to rot effectively. After all of their efforts in Dragon Ball, they were thought, thank you very much for your service guys, bye. And yes, Super did give Krillin and Roshi some very good moments to shine. The rest of the cast seems to be very much neglected. Don't get me started on Ten Shinhan. They don't get enough positive treatment, and that's really sad because they are essentially the living heart of the Dragon Ball universe. So before we embark on universal exploration, like we could go to Universe 11 or Universe 6, we should take it home and focus on what we already have on Earth. Stop making Yamcha just a pure laughingstock and make him something better that at the same time remains true to the character, as in it feels like it's genuine. It doesn't have to be pure power, it could be something about his baseball career. It could be having a relationship that actually sticks. Maybe he discovers a new fighting style that brings him up to the upper echelons or something like that, or maybe just personal fulfillment, I don't know. But just something that gives a very satisfying conclusion for that character. A lot of fans exist out there, and you're kind of giving them short shrift. Dragon Ball Super, Xenoverse, and Fighters showed flickers of inspiration, seeing really cool and sometimes really hilarious moments when the human cast do really cool things. The fact in Fighters you could go up against Beerus with Yamcha and still win? That is fantastic! And don't get me started if you're fighting Yamcha and Nappa. That's just gold. I think in the last few years, Dragon Ball has lost something precious about its soul. He essentially just neglected his human cast and then just went off into the galaxy. He forgot to keep the humans relevant, and before we go elsewhere, it is vitally important to give them the attention that they deserve. At least give them some closure. That is my biggest hope for Dragon Ball's future. So what do you guys think? What do you want to see in a future Dragon Ball series? And what do you think of the list that we managed to come up with? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Until the next one, be sure to like and subscribe. Catch you later!